Hey everybody, I'm Aaron Newcomb. Welcome back to the channel. This is a little bit of a different episode, at least starting out, which is I'm getting in the car and going for a ride. People are always asking me where I find stuff, and I did a video on that not too long ago, detailing the different places that I typically find things. Well, last night I got a Craigslist notification that there were some Commodore 64 supplies available. I contacted the guy. He said, come down and get them. They're all yours. So I'm going to go pick them up, and we'll see how this turns out. It's coming up right now on the Retro Hack Shack. So here's the ad that I saw, and at first on my phone I just saw the title. And maybe like me you've seen these ads before where they list a bunch of stuff in the ad for $1, and then when you look closer at the ad, each item is listed individually with a price, like $100 for this, $200 for that, etc., etc. That's the way I thought this ad was going to be, but when I clicked on it and opened it up, it turned out that this person was giving away all of this stuff for free. So that's why I contacted the seller right away and hopped in the car and drove through San Francisco and then down along the coast to be able to see what this was all about. The Bay Area has a lot of bridges and a lot of traffic, especially during rush hour. So I timed this trip in the middle of the day, and it only took me about an hour each way to get down there and back. Given the location being close to the ocean, I had some worries that this equipment, if it wasn't packaged up properly, could be rusty or corroded inside, and perhaps that's why this person was giving all of these things away for free. When I got there, I ended up having about a 20-minute conversation with the seller, who was moving and wanted to pass along his things to someone who could repair them and clean them up. And to my surprise, this stuff looks like it's in pretty good shape. I can see a VIC-20, some drives, a printer, and a few Commodore 64s. So I started the long trek back, but I thought I'd stop at the beach since it was right here next to where I picked up this stuff. And yes, there's also a Taco Bell right on the beach, in case you get the munchies, as some surfers are known to do. All right, I'm back home now, and it's time to take a look and see what I actually picked up. Now, you may be wondering where I am. I'm actually out in the garage, and I'm going to be turning this space into a little bit more of a studio space where I've got all my systems here. I can get set up in various locations and work on systems out here, and I don't have to bother people inside the house. The other reason is it's Thanksgiving time as I'm shooting this, and the ping pong table actually doubles as our dining room table, a la Charlie Brown style, if you will. So we needed the space on the ping pong table, and anyway, I'm redoing the garage. If you have any suggestions for me, let me know. I'm playing around with some backdrops and different sets and things like that. So if you have anything that you think might make a good set or backdrop or something that screams nostalgia at you, throw those ideas in the comments down below. I'd be curious to see what your opinions are as I build this space out. And I am doing a dedicated episode on how I'm building out this space, in case there's someone else out there that wants to do the same. Maybe you have your own YouTube channel, you want to know what I did and what I chose to do to maximize my space or whatever. So I'll be doing a dedicated video on that, and I'll bring it to the channel soon. In the meantime, let's take a look and see what I got in this haul. So I'm going to start with this first. It's the heaviest box, and let's just open it up and see what's inside. All right, well, right away, I see some goodies here. So this is VIC-20 in the box, it looks like. Well, at least I assume it's in the box. There's a serial number here, and I'm just going to go ahead and take a look real quick at all of these items, get them out on the bench, and then I'll take a deeper dive in a second where maybe we can try some of these out and power them up. But for now, let's just see what's inside the box, make sure it actually is a VIC-20. And yes, it is a VIC-20. Nothing in this box, which I think would have had the power supply in it at least. And but here's the VIC-20. Let's see if I can get it out. It's missing some of the styrofoam. There we go. So yeah, this is a really nice VIC-20. Normally the VIC-20s, that at least the ones that I get, are very, very yellowed. And this looks like it's barely yellowed at all. It's got I believe this is the older style badge. I don't know. There's something about these badges. But anyway, we'll take a closer look at this when I get everything out of the box. But yeah, here's a really nice VIC-20 in the box. Not bad. And here's the reason this was so heavy. Here's a 1541 disk drive. Here's another one. Here's another one. Okay, last but not least, there is the VIC 1541. So all in all, 4 floppy disk drives, 3 for the Commodore 64 or that era. And then even though I believe this will work with a Commodore 64, but this is the older one that would have come with the VIC-2. That's the VIC 1541. So pretty awesome. 4 floppy drives, wow, and they are heavy. All right, here's the other box. First thing in this box is bread bin, Commodore 64. It's a little dusty, a little dirty, but no worse for wear. It looks pretty good. It'll be interesting to see what kind of board is inside this one. And next up, another Commodore 64. This is the Commodore 64C, which I don't have. I have plenty of Commodore 64s. I have a couple other VIC-20s in my collection, but I don't have a C64C. So this will be really nice to play around with and see how it works. Here's the power brick. I assume this is the one that went with the C64C because of the coloring, but I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. And another power brick and another power brick. So 3 power bricks. And these are, you really shouldn't use these anymore with a Commodore 64. At least that's my rule. I just don't plug them in. Because there can be problems and you can short out your board and ruin some of the ICs that are inside. So I've done a video on how to rebuild these, and these will definitely come in handy. I'm actually looking for a couple more of these. So if someone has set these aside and they don't want them, let me know in the comments below and I'll get in contact with you. Or you can just email me about getting a hold of a couple of these death bricks, as they've been known to be called, and I'd like to rebuild a couple more, and I'll be most likely rebuilding these as well. So, but anyway, check out that video if you want to learn how to do that for yourself. Aha, and here is the VIC-20 power supply. I don't think I have one of these though. I think I built my own for the VIC-20. So really nice to have an original VIC-20 power supply. Now, I'm not quite done yet. This is amazing. While I was there and I was talking to the gentleman that I bought these, or actually I didn't buy them. He gave all these to me. While I was talking to him, we started talking about Atari because he said he was happy to get rid of these and happy that they were going to a good home. But at the same time, his real love, his first computer, we talked about, oh, what's your first computer? What's your first computer? Anyway, his first computer was an Atari 8-bit. And so he had been collecting all of the various models of Atari. And he asked me if I had any. And of course I said, yes, I do. I have an Atari 800-6L and a few more. I think I have a 400 and a original 400 and I also have Atari STs and so forth, but I didn't have an Atari 600XL. And he said, well, wait a second. I think I've got one and you're welcome to it. So here is an Atari 600 XL that he gave me as well. So again, this one's a little bit dirty. It needs to be cleaned up, but I didn't have one of these. So I'm really glad that he was able to find one and gift this to me. That was really, really nice of him. And he even included the original power supply, which I had never seen before. And it is a little bit loose. It's almost as though someone maybe has taken something apart. I don't know if you can hear that, but the original power supply for the Atari 600XL is included as well. So at least I have something to power it up with. But I probably want to take this apart and just check it out since there does seem to be something loose in there. So he also had some of the dust covers for the Commodore. So I believe this one goes with the bread bin. Looks like it does. Let's see. Yeah, that fits on there quite nicely, actually. So there's a dust cover for a bread bin, but what I'd never seen before was a dust cover for the 1541 disk drive. So this should go right over any of these, and it protects your 1541 from dust and spillage and whatever. I have never seen the matching dust cover for the drive. I've always just seen the ones, and I think I've got a couple more of these that were for the computer itself, but not for the 1541. So that is pretty cool. Now, the other thing that came with this is the introductory guide for the C64C. I've got the Commodore Collection, Volume 1 of programs, so I'll definitely want to take a look at that. And then, of course, the 64C Systems Guide, which these are all manuals I didn't have before, so really nice to have these. And while I was there, he said, hey, by the way, I've got a big box of new old stock floppy disk. Would you like any of those? And of course, I said, yeah, I can always use floppy disk. And so he gave me 4 boxes. Now, these are double-side high density. So I'm going to have to check out and make sure that there was nothing different about this media like there was for the IBM 720K drives, I think. Sometimes if you try to use high-density disks on the 720K drives, it won't read it very well because of the way that the formatting and the way that they actually made those disks and the drives. It's just they don't always work together. I've been able to get them to work about 80% of the time, but there's sometimes you just can't get them to work. I don't know if there's anything different about these high-density, double-sided high-density disks that would make them unreadable on a C64 system. These happen to be formatted for IBM, but that doesn't matter. So I'll have to take a look and see if I can use these disks in a Commodore 64. If not, they'll be fine for my IBM systems. And last but not least, he also found this, he had several of these head cleaning diskettes, which I'm always in need of. And so, yep, I've got one of these and the cleaning fluid. But again, the cleaning fluid, if it's not, if it doesn't smell right, if it doesn't smell like IPA, I'll be switching this out for some isopropyl alcohol to use with this cleaning disc. So all in all, this is probably one of my best hauls to date, considering that I paid absolutely nothing for any of this. And it was really just a collector that was moving out of state and wanted to give this to somebody that would make good use of it, could repair it, could test it and everything. And so I'm really grateful, number one, that I found that Craigslist ad. I'm glad I had my alert set up properly and was ready to go at a moment's notice, because I anticipated that this was going to be much worse condition and, maybe a C64, and that was it. But I got this whole lot for free from a fellow collector. So thank you very much to that collector. And I'm just astonished, really. And this is going to make for a lot of good upcoming videos. One last thing he did give me was an Okidata Micro 92. Was it the Micro line? I think it was. Micro 92 printer, and it's over on one of my shelves right now, and I don't want to dig it out. But he also gave me that printer as well, so I can use that, maybe print out some banners or something like that in a future episode. So I think the next thing to do is to power these systems up one at a time and just see if they power up, just so that I know if they're working or not. I'll make a note, and then I'll prepare them for future episodes where I can come back and dive in and either fix them if they're not working, or just clean them up and get them ready, maybe to take to a convention or a conference or something like that.
Penny.
Penny, did you steal my birthday wrapping paper?
Penny, you're ferocious.
Penny, give me that. Bye. Okay, so let's start from the earliest to the oldest. I'm just going to do a quick test, see if these systems are working or not. If I notice anything, I will write it down and come back later to fix these up. So we're going to start with the VIC-20. I am going to use this VIC-20 power supply. Unlike the Commodore 64s, which had both 9 volt and 5 volt on their power inputs, the VIC-20 just has 9 volt. At least this version of the VIC-20 only has 9 volts. So basically inside this plastic brick is literally just a 9 volt AC transformer. And you can see here it's outputting 9 volts at 3 amps. So I feel pretty comfortable hooking this up. I am going to test it, however, just to make sure that it's putting out something around 9 volts. Most likely, without any draw, it'll be somewhat higher than that. Okay, So we're getting 11.6 volts. It's fluctuating just slightly there as I move the probes around. But 60 hertz, 11, 12 volts even is probably okay. Like I said, you're going to get more than 9 volts when there's nothing connected to it. Once it's connected to something that has some draw, that voltage will drop back down. So this is perfectly fine and safe for this VIC-20. As far as the videos for the video for these tests is concerned, I'm going to be using this 1084S. For the VIC-20, I dug around in my box where my other VIC-20 is, and I remembered that I had made this modification to this RF modulator. Now, this RF modulator came with one of the VIC-20s I got a while ago, and I almost threw it out. But then instead, what I did, because I didn't have a composite cable, I went ahead and modified this a while ago to give me composite output. So this will give me either composite output or RF output should I need to hook it up to a TV. So this is something I actually kept, and it's got a little made in Japan. All the best things are made in Japan, and it has a channel 3 or channel 4 switcher on it, but we're not going to be using the RF output on it. We're going to be using the composite. So I'll get this hooked up now. Okay, I think I've got the monitor set for composite input. And I noticed before I hooked up the power, I was messing around in the power switch for the VIC-20 was really stuck. And by wiggling it a little bit, I got it to free up. But because it was really stuck and really gunked up, that tells me that potentially there could be something wrong on the power switch itself. And if that's gunked up and doesn't work, I may have to go in and clean up the power switch itself in order for this to work. But we'll keep our fingers crossed, turn it on, and see what happens. Here we go. Okay, it's on. I've got a power light. I don't see a picture. Okay, well, I'm not seeing anything, but when I turn on the power, I am seeing the screen flicker. So there's some kind of signal there coming through. I checked all the cables. Nothing seems to be wrong there. So yeah, and the audio, if I disconnect this, I don't know if you can hear that. There's a little, I can hear when the audio gets plugged in, there's a little buzz. And so I know that the audio signal seems to be coming through, or at least something on the audio channel is connecting to the monitor. So yeah, this VIC-20 is just not getting any picture. So I'll go ahead and write down no video. And that'll be a good repair video on the channel for later on. Okay, so it's time to move on to the Commodore 64, the bread bin C64. Just to make sure that this cable was working that I was using on the VIC-2 before, or the VIC-20 before, I went ahead and hooked it up to a known good Commodore 64. In fact, this is the one that I modified to give pixel perfect HDMI output. I'll try to link that up above in the somewhere over there, corner somewhere. Anyway, I just wanted to make sure that that cable was working. And so I hooked up a known good C64, powered it up with a modified power supply, and indeed it does work just fine. So there's nothing wrong with the cable. There are, on the VIC-20, there are only 5 pins for the video out, but they match up with the C64 in terms of where the composite and ground is and so forth. So even though it's missing like the luminance and that kind of stuff, composite output should work just fine with this cable, and it does. So with that in mind, let's test the one that I actually got as part of the huge haul that I scored. So everything's hooked up. Bread bin C64, will it work? Let's see. I heard sound. Oh, it should have come up by now. And there's not even a power light. Although I got sound, there's no power. So I'm wondering if the fuse is blown in this one. So again, dead unit, dead C64. So I will mark this one again, no video, and we'll have to take a look at it on an upcoming episode. All right, I've plugged in the C64C to see if this powers up. It's possible, fingers crossed this isn't true, but it's possible that none of these may work. The guy that I got these from said that he got them from another collector before him. So these are being passed down from collector to collector. He said he never tested them. He doesn't know if they work. So, and who knows, there's another possibility, which is those bricks, those power bricks that I pulled out of that box, if someone had tried to test them and plug them in, it's possible that they shorted something on the system. So it could be that none of these work, but let's see if the C64C, which is the newest of the bunch, let's see if that actually powers on and works. Anything? Hey, all right. I didn't think it was going to work at first. The power light had come on, but I didn't think that the C64 was actually going to work because it took so long to power up. Hey, but that's pretty cool. No smoke. Everything's, let's see if the keyboard seems to be working. At least it's in pretty good shape, or seems to be. So yeah. This looks like it's in good working order. Let's test it out and see if we have a good working SID chip. And I'll be using Eevee's Fakebit cartridge, which I love. I've used it on some other episodes where I looked at the C64, but let's just go see if I have a SID tester on here. Here it is. Let's just run all tests and see what happens. All right, so those tests worked just fine. No problems at all. So this is a good working SID and a good working system. So other than a little bit of a clean, it's already in great shape. Really don't have to do anything with this. Let's just exit out and do a quick game test. And since Adrian Black is a buddy of mine, let's just go ahead and give this a try. Okay, since we have at least one good Commodore 64, I thought we could go ahead and do a quick test on the disk drives as well. To do that, the first thing I want to do is clean each one of these. And in order to do that, I have these new cleaning discs that I got, again, from the person who gave me all these systems. And but it is a double-sided cleaning. By the way, if anyone knows of a single-sided cleaning diskette, let me know, because what happens is on these are single-sided drives. The head is on the bottom, I believe, and there should be a felt pad. At least on a lot of these drive units, there's a felt pad on the top, and if you stuck this in, it's possible to pull that felt pad off or damage that felt pad with the felt essentially that's in here, because it's going to be rubbing against that felt that's up here. So what I did was I just took another disc and cut this out. I think I saw this from Adrian as well, or maybe another channel. I don't remember. But I just took another disc. I took off I took out the little protective, whatever this is, felt or whatever that's on a normal disc. I took that off, and then I just put that little piece of diskette plastic down, and I put a little bit of tape there to keep it in place. That should, if I've done it correctly, that should keep so the felt is not damaged on the upper part of the drive unit, and the head, which is on the lower part, will still get cleaned by this part. I hope that makes sense. Anyway, that's the way I'm going to try these. This is, by the way, a VIC 1541. I know I said it before. I believe there was a VIC 1540, which only worked on the VIC 20, but the VIC 1541 will work with the C64, and it's backwards compatible to the VIC 20. So let's try this one out, and we'll kind of work our way down, see what works and what doesn't. So I've got this plugged in. The first thing we want to do is just turn the drive on and see what happens. Okay, light comes on and then went off. That's actually a good sign. So this should be IPA, and it's actually completely sealed, so it's probably still good. I'm just going to go ahead and poke something in there to pierce the hole on this thing. Give it a little sniff test. Make sure that it's... Yeah, that's still good. IPA. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little bit of IPA on there. And then what I like to do is put it on another spot. I like to rotate it around and put it on another spot as well so that it's got a good amount of IPA on there to clean this drive off. So just stick the cleaning disc in and let's power up the C64. Okay, the good news is that the drive rotated and then stopped. So let's just try that. I'm going to just do that one more time to give it a good spin there. Or actually, we could just type in a load command. Okay, so that definitely should have cleaned the heads if they needed cleaning. So now we can go ahead and I've got these discs that came with one of the C64s I purchased. Go for it. Who remembers having stickers like that on their stuff when they were a kid? Now this has some discs in here. I think some of them worked and some of them did not work. But I'm going to try a couple of these and just see if I can get anything to load. Unfortunately, this was actually the VIC 1541 test disc, but it looks like it was overwritten. And it even has a fake notch here. So yeah, somebody notched this out and I think they put Kane human race on one side and boxing on the other. But anyway, let's just go ahead and see if we can get a directory to come up. Oh, that's not good. It looks like it tried to load something, but it's not actually working quite right. Okay, and I forgot what happens when you load. I was doing the wrong thing. It's been a while since I've used a Commodore, a few months anyway, and I did comma 8, comma 1, but I forgot. I think when you use the $, it's just load $, comma 8, not with the 1. And yeah, it actually pulls up a directory. So now I can just do load star. This time I will use comma 1, comma 8, comma 1, and see if this loads. That's doing something. Gameware presents 2-on-1 by Mastertronic. Hey, look at that. 2-on-1. We can load Kane or human race. Let's load Kane. And I suppose I should hook up a joystick. I think this joystick works. If not, I've got more joysticks. So let's see. There we go. Kane. Hey. Hey, and there's sound. Ay, ay, ay. I forgot how long it took these things to load. Let me turn this down a little bit. There we go. Yeah, I forgot how long it took these discs to load on Commodore 64. It takes forever. Let's see if I've got the joystick plugged into the right port. Yeah, I got something going on here. Uh-oh. Oh, man. I've never played this game before, so I have no idea how it works, but I assume you just... Oh, yeah, I got one. Yay. All right. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm shooting birds. And I'm getting them too. So this is definitely working. Let's try out the next drive. I'm just going to go and try this one. I'm going to use the same process, use the cleaning disc, and then we'll try this disc obviously works. So we'll pop this in and see if it works in drive number 2. Okay, interesting. This one may have some motor issues or belt issues because I can hear that the disc is not spinning in there at all. Okay, this one actually seems like it's spinning, but I couldn't hear. Usually you can hear the head, or this felt rubbing against the head, and it's kind of loud. I could definitely hear it in the VIC 1541. So let me pop an actual disc in there and just see if it's able to read anything. No, that doesn't sound very good at all. So yeah. This one seems to be having some issues. There we go. So now I'm testing this last one, and definitely when I turned it on, I could hear the that felt rubbing against the head there. So this one at least seems to be working. These two, I suspect, probably need new belts. Oh yeah. Yeah, this one's seems like it's definitely working. At least the motor part is working with the belts and everything. Let's see if it's actually reading any data. I'm going to give that just a second, just to get any alcohol evaporated off that head. And let's try to load this. Oh, looks good. So far, so good. Let's see if it loads the game. Kane. I love the bones up here, how they did Kane with bones. That's pretty cool. And welcome to Kane. So yeah, I don't think I have to play this one. I think it's working just fine. So I'm going to call this drive good. And these two drives, hopefully all they need is a new belt. They seem to be working otherwise. So these will be scheduled for an upcoming episode where I do some 1541 repair. Excellent. Okay, last one up is this Atari 600XL. Now, the power supply, as I mentioned, is rattling. Let's see if I can hold the... There's definitely something loose inside of here. And so I don't want to use this until I have the chance to get in and take a look at it. Luckily, this is 5 volts DC, 1.5 amps. So you can find those types of power supplies pretty much anywhere these days. All you have to do is look up the pinout and then attach. This happens to be like an old USB power adapter. I think it's 5 volts, 3 amps. So plenty of juice in this little brick here, and you can look up the pinout for this 7-pin DIN, which is ground and which is 5 volts. And you can make your own power cable pretty easily. I'd love to use that case, however. So, yeah, I'll definitely be looking at that in another video, because this doesn't look nearly as nice as the original power supply case. Anyway, let me hook this up. And as you can see, I just have a standard TV because this has RF out on it. So I've got a standard TV set for channel 3. And power is in. I've got a joystick connected in case things actually do work. So let's just go ahead and power this up and see what happens. Looks good. Ready. So this Atari 600XL is actually working. Now I believe if you hold down, I think it's the Option key, or maybe the Start key. I think it's Option, and hit reset. It'll actually go into some built-in diagnostics, which is super helpful. I love it when systems have diagnostic modes, like the Apple II, the Apple IIe. I think all of the E's maybe had a diagnostic mode. This also has a diagnostic mode. So let's see if we can get that to run. Yep. So it actually, the reset didn't work. If you hold down Option and then actually power the system on when it's cold, when it's off, don't use the reset key, but actually use the hard power switch over here. It'll actually give you a self-test mode. So now we can test out the memory, the sound, all that stuff. Let's just run through real quick and see if everything's working. Oh, I've got to hit start. Now, while this is counting up, one of the key differences between the 600XL and the 800XL is that the 600XL only had 16K of RAM, where the 800XL had 64, I believe, if I'm not wrong. You can correct me below, as you always do. You guys are so helpful in your comments. Okay, so it looks like it went through one time. Both ROMs check out okay, and all the memory checks out good. These, at least the Ataris that I have, the 8-bit Ataris that I have, are fairly reliable. One of the more reliable systems, I think, that I've owned. Like I said, I've got the 400, I've got an 800XL, and now a 600XL, and all of them have pretty much worked flawlessly without any issues, even after all this time. Okay, let's try the audio-visual test. Ah, yes, the music of the Atari. Very good music chip in here, actually. So you can see it's testing the different voices here, voice 1, 2, and 3, and now voice 4. And I think now it's just going to reset again, or loop again. So yeah, one of the nice things about the Atari with the audio chip that they had, there was actually 4 voices. I don't know if it could do all of the various, if it had the range of the SID, but the fact that it could do 4 voices at one time is pretty cool. And let's just test the keyboard. Why not? And then when you go through here, you can just see what you're typing, and yeah. This all looks really, really good. Okay, so what better way to just make sure everything's working, including the joystick, but to fire up the seminal game. I think I'm using that word correctly, seminal. The most important, like the biggest, the most popular, I don't know. The most popular game for the Atari 8-bit series was by far Star Raiders. As you can see here, I've got a kind of a beat up box, but it is in the box version of Star Raiders. Let's go ahead and pull out this cartridge carefully and pop it in, see if it works. I don't know why they made their boxes so big compared to other people's boxes. This just looks obnoxious. Now, I haven't cleaned this. I may have to go back and clean this slot with some IPA, but let's just power it up and see what happens. Hey, look at that. So yeah, definitely the slot is dirty. I just pulled this in and out 3 or 4 times and got a good connection, and now Star Raiders is actually working. Yeah, I don't know if you can see. This might not be the best joystick, but it's definitely working. Yeah, so I don't remember how to play this game. I know you can, there was like different speeds you could go, I think. Oh yeah, now see I'm speeding up. Let's go back down. 1 is stop. 4, 6. Yeah. Anyway, I'm not going to play this. I just want to make sure that the joystick port was working, sound is working, everything seems to be working. So I'm really happy that now I have an Atari 600XL. This probably just needs a good cleaning. Everything looks like it's working. If there's some mods or something that I can do, then I'll definitely do an episode on the Atari 600XL as well. But otherwise, I'm just glad to have one of these. Even though it has less memory, it's just nice to have the complete set, or not the complete set, but at least the 600XL, 800XL. Then there's also a 1200XL as well, I believe as well. So, hey, I've got the first 2, and we'll see if I find a 1200XL out there. I can make it a nice trio. Well, needless to say, I'm super excited about this find that I had on Craigslist. It's so nice when collectors pass on some of their unused stuff to others. And I plan on doing that with some of these systems here once I can get them fixed up. I'll most likely either pass them on to somebody in the local clubs or whatever that maybe doesn't have one of these Commodore 64s or doesn't have a disk drive. Either that, or I'll go ahead and put them on eBay to raise some more money for the channel so that I can build out this space, this new space, and make the channel even better. So thank you to everybody, since it is Thanksgiving. I know this will be late or after Thanksgiving by the time you see it. But I just want to say thanks to all of you viewers who have left so many good comments and suggestions. I try to read every single comment and either like it or respond if it's something that is interesting, or just to say thank you, because everyone has been super supportive and I really, really appreciate it. If you want to support this channel, especially the effort to build out the studio in my garage, you can become a patron anywhere from $1 a month all the way up to whatever. I forget what the top limit is. But if you pledge more than $1 a month, you get commentary at the end of each episode. You get no ads. You get early releases. So I try to give back a little bit to my patrons, and I appreciate them also so much for making this channel possible. So that's going to be it for this episode. Until next time, thanks for watching. If you want to support me on Patreon, you can go to patreon.com/retrohackshack and sign up.